And hello, everyone. Welcome to One Take because life has no rehearsals. And we're going to be talking to one of the most interesting people so far. Wait until you see how she got her break. Most of us would love a break like that. I've known Moira for many years, many years. Her husband was not only one of my best friends in food con and building in Mexico, he was a true mentor. He was, even though he was, I think, a bit younger, maybe something like that, but he had a gravitas to him. So I miss David a lot, and then I am actually godfather to one of Moira's sons. So
Mhm.
we've been in contact forever. So without further ado, let me introduce Moira Tamayo. And Moira, tell us about that fantastic break because I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Hi, Marcelo. Thank you so much. So yeah, just to get into it. So I was, I was always working in marketing. My very first job was in Venezuela, in Caracas, when Procter and Gamble was very strong there. I helped launch Pampers. I came in as a brand assistant, and then I continued. In different companies, and I was working at Western Union and managing advertising for Latin America, um, reporting to the CMO. And one weekend, the head of Latin America business, who was on vacation in Cancun, calls me at my house. And this was in 1999. And she said, "Hey, the president of Western Union Argentina just quit. And aren't you born there? You're from there. You can move there and run that business. I need somebody there right now." And I said, okay. I hung up. And I said to my husband, they want me to run Argentina. So I should explain that Argentina and the US were the only two countries where Western Union had a business uh, and run the business. In all the other countries, they did it through business partners. But that was a full operation. I said, I can't run. I don't know anything about finance or how to run a call center or how to open a new location. And my husband, David, said, if you say no, that you are really saying, I don't want a career at Western Union. And I had moved to Mexico because of his job. And so he was ready. I knew he was ready to move to Argentina because of mine. So I did two other things. So one was talk to David, obviously. Number two was my very best friend from college, also an Argentine. He was at the time running a bank in Greece. He was running ABN AMRO Bank in Greece. So I called him and I said, "Hey, I have this opportunity. I am a marketing person. You're a finance guy. Can I do this?" And he said to me, "You can totally do this. What you need to do is find really competent people to report to you." And then the number three thing I did is I was enrolled in this leadership course at the Center for Creative Leadership. It was a 4-day course where they do a battery of tests before and during the course. You have to complete assignments. You do a 360. They put you with other people that evaluate you, and then the last day they meet with you for 3 hours and they condense everything they know about you. And what they said to me was, "You have been dealt very good cards. Go and use them." And so those three things were the things I needed. I had only ever had two people reporting to me, and I moved to Argentina, a country that I had left at 17. And suddenly I had 60 people reporting to me in a business that was not making money. And I was asked to turn it around. And it was an amazing opportunity. Ultimately, my love is for marketing. I love marketing, but it really changed me because it showed me that I could take risks and I could do anything.
So that is, I guess, I thought Shy in the podcast when he got caught in an unmarked minefield. I thought he had raised the bar on decisive moments. But getting a call from Cancun to your house saying, "Yo, would you like to be president of the company?"
Yeah.
I mean, that is, you have raised the bar now for everybody coming in
Yeah.
the podcast. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, she's an amazing. Her name is Lisa Alicia Velez. She was my mentor, and I was not reporting to her at the time, but obviously we worked together. So because we had a matrix structure, so she took a leap of faith, and I took a leap of faith, and it
no,
was successful.
that's absolutely great.
Yeah,
So then you are smack, and this is going to sound quaint to people who are younger. So you're smack in the middle of a business that transfers money. Now, just to set up the stage, money transfer, or like remesas, as we call them in Spanish,
yeah,
are probably in many countries the number two and number three source of income for the country.
yeah,
They're a huge part of the GDP. They're super
yeah.
important. And typically in those days, you would go over to the Western Union office or to the bank that was associated with Western Union, and you'd say, "I'd like to transfer $100 to my mom in Michoacan," and then Western Union take your 100, would transfer 95 to your mom in Michoacan, and then they made money and all of that. And it was a huge industry. I mean, like, who didn't grow with Western Union? It was like traveler checks. I remember traveler checks, and then
I do
of
too.
course nobody has traveler checks. Money just money transfer just cannot disappear. Everybody has cards. I myself was one of the guys who worked on the launch of the Televisa Univision card that essentially transferred money one to another. When I was in Mexico, we did some work for Indian banks who were also
Hmm.
experts at transfer, and the whole industry just you know it doesn't exist anymore. I mean, so tell us a bit more about one. How does it feel to have an entire industry kind of like vanish? And then two, what did you do?
Yeah. So first of all, as you know, Western Union was the telegraph company.
Oh
So
yeah,
they were
that's true.
right. So they had already gone through an industry that had disappeared. In fact, while I was working there, they finally killed it. There were still people sending telegrams, especially immigrants. That was the norm in their country. So there were still a few thousand, and also they were used to send telegrams to politicians. Right? If you were supporting an initiative or something, the idea was that politicians would read a telegram. But I forget the year, but around 2000 and 2002, they just killed that business. So they had already pivoted once. In my opinion, Western Union was very slow in adapting to online money transfers and particularly mobile. Right? They just had this idea that no, people like going to Western Union and it's like a ritual and they like getting the money. And it's like, no. So Western Union, of course, still exists and it is huge and it has many competitors, right? MoneyGram, Reinvia. But clearly, the business has moved to online transactions, sending prepaid cards. I think in my opinion, one of the errors that Western Union made was so when I came back from Argentina after 3 years there, I was managing Latin America from the Miami office. And all of us in that office were immigrants. And we were all sending money back to our home countries. And so we were actually the customers. But we were reporting to Denver, the headquarters, and they were not the customers, right? So we kept saying, "Hey, we people are online now. We need to do this," and they were like, "Well, no, because immigrants don't have a lot of money, so they can't afford a a cell phone. They cannot afford to have an online presence." It's like, no, everybody's doing this, especially immigrants, because they're trying to keep in touch with their families back home. They're more connected than anybody. So it took the company a long time, and I left the company after 11 years in 2006. But Western Union should have led the way on mobile transfers and online transfers, and it just took them a long time to get there.
Yeah, no kidding. Even when I had my co-working at CIC, I met, can't remember his name, Etienne something or other. He is the founder of Waleteros, and Waleteros
Yeah.
is the same thing. It's online transfers, and they were a tiny company. They were transferring money all over the place. So what did you do after that?
So after that, so I got an interesting opportunity. So I was asked to move to Puerto Rico to work for a cell phone company called Centennial. And when I looked at their finances, because I had learned a lot about finance in Argentina, when I looked at their finances, it was clear to me that this is a company that was being set up to be sold. So I had a very frank conversation with the general manager, and I said, hey, I don't want to move my family to Puerto Rico. And then, 6 months later, the company sold and I lose my job. And he said, you're right. It is possible we'll be sold. But because of this and that, he gave me some financial explanations. We cannot sell until like 3 years from now. So you can spend 3 or 4 years working in Puerto Rico and we'll have a lot of fun and we'll make some money. And I said, okay, I'll go for that. And that's exactly what happened. After 3 years, we were sold to AT&T. AT&T asked me to stay on for one extra year, which I did. And I had 4 fantastic years in Puerto Rico, where I still have very dear friends. And I learned a lot about the cell phone industry. And then as my time with AT&T was winding down, my former boss at Western Union, the same one who had offered me the job in Argentina, called me and said, hey, some former Western Union people are working on a new payments company in Cincinnati. This is a business to business company. And this is an offshoot of a local bank. They want to have it go independent and they want to have an IPO in 2 years. And they need a brand. They need a website. They need marketing help. So I moved to Cincinnati. Well, first I commuted as a consultant with Liz. She and I did it together. And then one day I said to them, it's cheaper for you to rent me an apartment in Cincinnati than to have me fly back and forth and put me up in a hotel every time. And they said, okay. So I moved to Cincinnati. And I worked for a company that was fantastic, and we created a brand. And then, unfortunately, a few years later, the brand was bought by another brand, and so the brand we created doesn't exist anymore. But we did have in 2012, no, I'm sorry. In 2013, 12 or 13, we had a very successful IPO, and it was a career-defining moment also because I had worked with the Landor branding agency
Oh
to
yes, of
create a
course.
logo and the whole visual branding. And the day that we had the IPO, there was a giant banner with our brand covering the front of the New York Stock Exchange. I have a photo of that.
Well, fess up. What was the brand? You haven't mentioned it.
It was called Vantiv,
Ah,
Vantiv. It is now called
yes.
Worldpay.
Okay.
Um, it was bought by Worldpay. So it is a payment company. It's a company most people have never heard of, but probably most times that you have used your debit card, they are the ones that make sure that the card gets paid, the bank gets paid, Visa gets paid, and you get your bill. That's basically what they do.
And somebody makes
So
the
that was
foreign
also a new
transactions
experience
fee.
because it was going to business, which I hadn't done much of before.
No, but it's it's the same thing. Marketing is marketing, essentially.
Marketing is marketing. Then eventually, I was hired to come to Cincinnati in 2017 by Amazon Payments, which is a kind of a PayPal. It's when you're not shopping on Amazon, you're shopping on Brooks Brothers, and instead of putting in your credit card information, you click on an Amazon Pay icon, and Amazon already knows your address and your form of payment, so you don't have to enter anything.
Amazon knows everything.
Amazon knows everything. So I did that for a couple of years, and one day I had this realization that wait, my kids are now independent. My parents have passed. I'm not supporting anybody financially. I can do whatever I want. And what I always wanted to do was do something with animals, work with animals. So I I had gone to a fundraiser at the local zoo here in Seattle, and they sent me a letter and they said, "Hey, we have a program with Miami University in Ohio where you can do a master's in biology with a focus on communications and environmental awareness. And you can take classes at the zoo and classes online, and you get a master's from Miami." And I'm like, okay. I started that. 2 months later, I was like, you know what? I'm really into this master's. I'm finding it a hard time to get excited about Amazon payments. So I left Amazon. I finished my master's, pandemic, all that. The classes went 100% online, but I got my master's degree December 2021, and April 2022, this opportunity opened up at the Seattle Aquarium to manage the advertising and all their marketing. So here I am at the aquarium. So I've been here 2.5 years, and I love it. I'm having a lot of fun, making less money, but I am so inspired by the mission, which is inspiring conservation of our marine environment. And if I have a bad day, I go and cross the street, I look at the otters. And the otters are always having an amazing day.
Yes.
They're
And I
always
was gonna
playing,
say,
they're eating great seafood, so they cheer me up.
no, but I was gonna say, I mean, like, does that seaquarium even realize that they have somebody who was president of a company in a big country, worked on a team that led an IPO, which is one of the most difficult
Yes.
things to do anywhere in finance? I
Yeah.
mean, wow. So that brings me to one of the questions that I always, have in mind. Sometimes I ask it, so sometimes I don't. In your case, we spoke about it a bit. I think it is really well worth it. Apart from looking at the others, which, by the way, when I was in Seattle, um, we drove. Oh, no, in San Francisco. We drove all the way from San Francisco to LA, but we stopped at the Seaquarium somewhere in San Diego, and we bought Alexandra when she was like 5, a huge otter,
Yeah.
and it lasted forever and ever and ever. I like otters.
I
They
like
are the
otters.
animal.
Otters are the best. Yes.
So what's in store for 2025? I mean, like, there's somebody at the Seaquarium which is absolutely overqualified to be in the marketing department
Okay, first of all,
of the
it's the Seattle
Seaquarium.
Aquarium. It's not the
Oh,
Seaquarium.
no, no, okay, the Seattle
Okay,
Aquarium.
the
Yes.
Seattle Aquarium. So I'm actually really excited. So one thing that happened this year on August 29th of this year is the Seattle Aquarium opened an entirely new building that is all animals from the South Pacific, the Coral Triangle near Indonesia and the Philippines. So these are sharks and rays and very colorful fish. They're amazing. And in the current aquarium, we have all the Pacific Northwest animals, the rockfish, the otters, the seals, that kind of thing. And the reason the new building was opened is because we realized that it's one ocean. Like if we pollute the ocean here, it has an impact everywhere. If they acidify the ocean on the other side, it has an impact everywhere. And the ocean is what's keeping us all of us alive, because the ocean is a carbon sink. We need the ocean to stay the way it is now. So we opened this, and so of course now it's a challenge because we have a bigger building. So we need to bring in more people. We need, most of we are not city owned. We are an NGO, so most of our revenue comes from ticket prices. But I think there are a number of really interesting things happening. So we knew already that 2026, Seattle is one of the cities chosen for the Soccer World Cup. But a couple of weeks ago, the head of FIFA was here and announced that next year, Seattle is going to host some of the games for the FIFA World Club Cup. And, I grew up in Argentina, so yeah, I know how important clubs are.
Oh, you bring
And so
soccer.
soccer,
Well,
totally
we go
soccer.
football, of
So
course.
it
You
is,
bring football.
so Seattle is going to become a huge international destination, and we need to be ready for that. And then 2027, the aquarium will turn 50 years old. And so I'm hoping that will be a huge celebration. Also, maybe the opportunity to engage people in more fundraising, and also the main thing, which is educating them on the importance of the ocean. So I'm planning to be here at least through 2027. After that, who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm really looking forward to the next few years. It's going to be super challenging, but I think it's going to be really, really good.
So then my last question to everybody, because we've all faced it, we have all been in interviews and we have all been regarded as being not digitally native or, some crap like that. So, let's say you're standing with a CEO, a CMO, big company, they're looking at many candidates. What do you tell them about the candidates who are like what Irving calls POA, people of age, people over 55? What do you tell that CEO? Look at this person.
First of all, obviously experience, and there is honestly no substitute for that. I thought I knew everything 30 years ago, but no, I know much more now. I know much more now. Also, honestly, I have more time now. I mean, yes, I have. I work with people of all ages, but honestly, when I had little kids in the house, half of my brain was always there. Now I have the time. I don't mind working on a weekend. I can really engage much more than when I had a young family. I have also learned, I think, compassion. I think, especially when you work for a corporation, it's like 24/7, right? And you expect everybody to work 24/7. I never took the amount of vacation I was supposed to
Yeah,
take.
nobody does.
That never. And if people wanted to take the amount of vacation they were supposed to take, I thought that was not being loyal to the company. Now I think I'm a better leader, and I think it's because I look at the whole person. I don't just look at what their objective, their work objectives are, and so that actually I think has made people that work with me be even more productive, because they know I have their backs, and that's really important. It's not just about asking them to produce more and more. So yeah, I really think there are advantages to hiring people with gray hair, or people who dye their hair, but I also think a company needs to have people of all ages. My team has, I think, the youngest person in my team is 23 or 24. Our CEO is in his 70s. I just love working with people of all ages. They bring different perspectives. My main target audience, that's the other thing, right? My main target audience for the aquarium is people with young children.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, older people also are welcome and come and all that kind of stuff. But when I advertise, I'm looking. So it's really helpful for me to talk to people who are the same age as my target audience. But I have also learned that as I got older, that I shouldn't just, I think especially clients sometimes famously go to the agency and say, "Hey, I didn't see your ad. Are you not running the ad?" It's like, well, maybe you are not the target. That's why you didn't
Exactly.
see the
Yes,
ad,
I've
right?
been through
You
that.
are,
The media
or
guy.
or you are a sample of one. So whatever your experience was is not everybody. So
Right.
um, so yeah, hire people with gray hair, with every color of hair, every color of skin. That's the way to make a really productive, vibrant organization.
No, that's great. Well, Moira, thank you very much. Hopefully, I'll see you in Miami if you ever come around. Seattle is kind of far away from my sphere, but you never know.
You never
I
know.
like the place.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Marcelo.
No, thank
Be
you. It
good.
was absolutely great. Absolutely great to see the to see you.
Same.
Saying bye bye.
See you soon. Bye bye.